Welcome to another episode of the Ramon Foster Show. I'm your host, Eddie Provident. I know I said DK would be back today. I didn't know he was flying in today, and he is probably sound asleep right now trying to catch up on some rest. Wow. So it is me again with everybody's favorite offensive guard, Ramon Foster. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. I'm definitely everybody's favorites these days. Okay?
These days, man.
Everybody's looking for a guard, man.
Right?
I might, let me not even tease it. I'm not unstrapping.
Well, listen, we've done enough, I think, not bashing, but just being honest about the offensive line for the last couple of days. We've done that. You and I have done it. You and DK have done it.
Yeah, we
so
did.
I want to keep today a little bit, little lighthearted. And
all right, let's hear it.
For the Pitt fans in the audience, tonight is the return of the backyard brawl.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there. I'm going to be down on the field taking photos. I am pumped for this. My question for you, Ramon, these college rivalries in the NFL locker rooms, we see all this stuff all the time. We hear the trash talk all the time. You and Pounce, two good buddies, man.
Yeah.
Florida and Tennessee. How?
Yeah.
What's the dynamic there? What's the dynamic of the rivalries inside the NFL locker room?
Man, you know what? First and foremost, you're gonna mention Pitt and not mention my Vols playing tonight too. You see what colors I'm donning right now? Don't you dare! That's how serious it is.
Who you guys got tonight?
Man, we you gonna laugh? We got Ball State. Okay, that's who we have.
All right, come on. This is just a warm up for your loss next week against Pitt, right?
No. See, this is how it starts right here. This is the warm up to go ahead and wreck shop next weekend.
Right,
is exactly what this
okay.
is against y'all, man. This is an exciting time for the guys that are in that locker room, man. Just because. One thing, football is back for you. And if you're in one of those locker rooms, it also means you made a team. So everybody's not loose, but a little bit just like, okay, like, all right, now we can start talking trash. What school did you go to? You went to where? Oh, yeah. Like Cam is notorious for this type of stuff. Like Ohio State. I remember it was one time I feel like we had like 5 or 6, maybe 7 Ohio State guys on the roster. And that's all you heard. Like, golly, shut up already, man. So it's always that aspect of it. It's specifically because we're in Western PA. You got your Ohio State, you got your Pitt, and don't let a Penn State kid come into the locker room.
Don't get me started on a Penn State guys, man. Don't get me started on them.
I know, but there is some trash talking. I'll be real with you. Tennessee had been down for a while. Oh man, okay. So my SEC trash talking resorted to Vanderbilt and Kentucky. Okay. You see how I always go at Benny Snell. Bud was the same way. Not necessarily in a bad way, but in one of those, hey, okay. Like, it's that time of year, what we betting. Like it used to be, and I don't know if that's the case now, like a standard $100 bet, no matter how good or bad you were. The best part about it, the Steelers didn't really get a whole lot of Alabama guys. So I never really had to deal with them. Except for Coach Mitch. Coach Mitch is an Alabama dude, and he'd be like, all right, Mo, where my $100 at? And I'd be like, God, dog, Coach Mitch, you're not even a player, man. But it's fun. Football is officially back, man, and I'm looking forward to watching the backyard brawl and also watching my Vols tonight too, man. It gets antsy around this time of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I mean, like for me, you're right. It's September, so we're officially in football season.
Yeah.
We're getting towards that way. The Steelers play in 10 days now?
10 days,
so we've got 10 days. Talk a little bit about getting ready now. Like there's less than a week away to game time. There's less than, so now I think the nerves are going to probably start setting in for some of these guys. We talked about Jaylen Warren and Mark Robinson yesterday, new guys that didn't even know if they were going to make the roster. What's this next? I mean, it's fun to talk about the rivalries and everything, but what's this next week and a half look like for the players on the roster?
It's prep, man. It's doing a surface level preparation for what you're going to see against your first opponent, and that's Cincinnati. The scout team learns how to run the cards. That's a huge part of it. Don't be the guy disrupting practice. You got to be a guy that's knowing what to do, mimicking the teams that you're going against. Settling in, I think that's also another big component of this week is the routines kind of change a little bit. Like that special teams meeting, the first thing you're going to notice is It's not a lot of bodies in the room. You're really amongst like a small group of people. You go from 90 to 69 guys, I think, now that you have it on the roster. So, or just on the practice squad plus 53. Right. You go to that part of it. It's like, there's a dose of reality of like, man, I better make sure I'm doing everything I need to do to stay a part of this team, because it's a very small group, man, and doing your job, even if that's not your primary job. Like, there are DBs that are going to have to play wide receiver some weeks. You know, there's some offensive linemen that might have to go run down on kickoff coverage because you need those bodies. Like, and whatever it takes to stay a part of the group is some stuff that you better be able to do. So they'll practice, some of this week. And the weekend, coach will probably give you, Saturday, Sunday off. And that's where you sit around and watch some college ball, watch some film. Shout out to Kyler Murray, being able to do that, but it's probably your last just calm weekend before everything from here on out throughout the rest of the year takes off. Even the bye week is still not a calm week for guys. Now, with the Steelers playing Cincinnati, last year they got their stuff handed to them by Cincinnati. Yeah, they did. Yeah, no, say it exactly as it is. So they got worked. Right. So now going in, like, you don't even have time to like prepare and have like that weaker game or that non-divisional game. You jump right into Cincinnati, the defending AFC champs, the team that wrecked you last year. How big is that the big circled game on the schedule is week 1? Well, it starts the season off more serious, and I say more serious just because you have those memories at the front of your mind. It'll be brought up. Coach T is going to show some of that film, from their preseason, but also from last year. If I know him the way I do know him, man, it'll be an emphasis on, men, this is AFC North ball. This is a business trip for us. And I say this too. I feel like practice, even though there's a lot of excitement around, making the team and, bringing the 90 down to 53, it'll probably be more quiet. It'll probably be more, hey, we can't go out and embarrass ourselves the same way we did last year. Yeah. There will be, guys making sure you're on top of everything you're supposed to. Whatever family issues you got, put that to the backside. Nothing matters this week except for this week 1 game on the road in Cincinnati. We say what we want to about them. They got a good squad. Yeah. And you can't just walk in there as if, they're going to lay down. No. If you've been on social media, you know where Cincinnati lies, man. And that's why it'd be an importance on just the scout, making sure that you mimic Joe Burrow. You are those receivers that they have in practice. So I can't wait to break this down, though, Eddie. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm glad it's like this week 1.
Dude, I'm excited. I'm pumped up. It's football. Football is back. Today, officially, football is back. And what better way to bring football back than segment 2? We're going to talk about getting hype. So stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. Ramon has no clue what I'm bringing up in this second segment. I texted him this morning and said, Ramon, I got a second segment, but I'm surprising you with it.
I have no idea.
I was told by our social media guy, Smitty, that you are a big fan of Edwin Diaz from the Mets and his walk-in. I have never seen it until last night. Someone sent me the video with the actual live trumpet. I have never seen it. I couldn't believe I'd never seen it, Ramon. It is one of the best things going in sports right now.
Timmy Trumpet, you hear me with this Edwin Diaz walk up?
It's so good. It is so good. So this is where this plays into football. We all know, every Yinzer, every Steelers fan, pretty much every football fan now knows about Renegade.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But that's the easy answer. So I don't want you to use Renegade. What was your hype song? What did you listen to in the locker room? What got you ready for football games when you were getting ready to play?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Music in a sense. That's why everybody loves it. Okay. That's why hip hop can be the number one genre in the world. That's why rock and roll ruled it for a long time. That's why because music moves you. Music has a way of infecting yourself in a fashion that it gets you going. The reason I love that Edwin Diaz walk up is because that puts you in the mind of a player of what it's like to go into attack mode.
Yeah.
I know he's a closer. But just to be in your zone, to be like, everything, okay, is zeroing in on the start of something. Good or bad. But the initial start of it is like a friggin' firework, okay? And for me, I'll be honest with you, my wife will be able to tell you this. My boys will be able to tell you this. Marcus Gilbert will tell you what my go-to song. Alejandro Villanueva is going to tell you. It's Future March Madness, okay?
Okay.
Like that song right there, just the tempo of it, the rhythm of it, the rock that it has back and forth with it. It's been on every playlist that I've possibly had. Okay, De Castro could tell you about March Madness. All right, like it just gets me going. But I got a lot of them. Heck, I still might have my playlist from when I played. Okay, and it's just simply, it ain't even called big game music. It's just simply get going.
Okay,
you know, and it really is I control the aux cord in there, but if number one on my playlist right now is March Madness, okay? That's where I'm at, okay?
All right.
But that's numero uno. But after that, there's a few other ones, man, and it's not all of them a high tempo. It's some that's slow. I got some old school stuff from UGK, some Young Jeezy from the early 2000s, mid 2000s, some T.I., some Jay-Z. It's all across the board. I promise you.
Mine, when I played hockey, I'd get all suited up. I'd get as soon as my skates got laced up and tied up.
Yeah.
Put the headphones on and see, I was a metalhead. So mine Mine was, my song was Shepherd of Fire by Avenged Sevenfold.
Okay.
If you've never heard it, it starts with the rain and then the bells tolling and then this this nasty guitar comes in and then it's a slow build. It's that slow build, So that was mine, and I'm a musician by trade, and so that was but anything music. I love what you said about music, but now we got that out of the way, so let's go to the low hanging fruit with Renegade. All right, I know what it was like being a fan in the stands when Renegade would come on, and I think a lot of people watching this can relate to me with this. I know you weren't on the defense, but what was it like being a player on the field on a Sunday night? I'll give you the one that I remember. It was Sunday night against the Baltimore Ravens when they inducted Joe Green when they retired Joe Green's number.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger threw his 6 touchdown passes that night.
Yep.
That was one of the best Renegades I've ever been a part of. What's it like, on a Sunday night or a Monday night game? It's a rivalry game against the Ravens, and it's just the crowd's electric. It's a sellout. What's it like being on the field? What's that like being on the field for that, Mon?
It's knowing something is going to happen. It's only been maybe a couple times where Renegade's been played, and there's, you don't get the results you're looking for. Like something is always happening when Renegade get played, man, in a positive fashion. As a player down on the field, man, it's so weird because even the coaches are I'll use Munch, as respected as he was with us. Okay. Even if he was talking to us and Renegade came on, he knew. All right, let me shut the bleep up, okay? Go ahead, guys. Watch it. That was him. It'd be in a situation where he's giving us points to correct stuff, and the lights would the screen would just black. And then we look over, and it's just here comes the show. And then it just, when it starts to hit, and then it's doof, doof, doof. And somehow they added that enhancement of the 808 where it's not just like a regular boom, is boom.
Yeah, yep.
Oh my gosh. Get us the ball back. That's the next thing. Get us this friggin' ball back so we can go out here and feel some of this energy too.
Oh man, that had to be one of the coolest experience. Like, I mean, it's something special about that, that whole atmosphere. And from a fan, again, from a fan standpoint, to me, that gives me chills every time, even just talking about it. I can't even hear Renegade on the radio anymore. I was just watching a TV show and Renegade came on and I'm like, oh man, here we go.
Would not even, like, I had somebody yesterday ask me, a big time Steeler fan, hadn't gone to a game yet, and they understood the assignment. When I said, he's like, I got to get up to it. I was like, you need to. He's like, but I don't want to go in September or October. He said, I want to go to a night game in November or December. I said,
there it is.
Get it.
There it is.
Yep. If you're experiencing it for the first time, either go to opening weekend at I said Hines. Wow, Acrisure. At Acrisure. Right. Go to either the opening weekend or later in the season or one of those night games. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that Sunday night game against the Ravens was my wife's first Steeler game.
Yeah.
And that was a heck of a way to introduce her to it.
Yeah, and it was necessary too, Eddie. I know it was.
Yeah. When we come back, it'll be the Hey Mon segment.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. It's everybody's favorite segment, the Hey Mon segment. This segment is brought to you by the Get-Go Cafe and Market, where it's all about quality. If 3 expert chefs fine-tune every detail so that every sub and burger and salad and wrap, all the food that you can get there, the drinks, everything. It's made with fresh ingredients. It always tastes amazing. Make sure you order your favorites at Get-Go Cafe and Market today. They're open 24/7. They're always serving up the hot, fresh food. Mon, yes. We got a good Hey Mon segment today. I got a good question for you because I have an opinion on this one. I straight up, I don't agree with the assessment this guy makes, but okay. James Lawson asks the question, Hey Mon, do you think that the new O-line coach is the problem? Is it him that has caused Dan Moore's regression? You mentioned his stance and his technique is off. When does the organization look at teaching versus the player? I think it's a fair question. What do you think?
That's a fair question. You got to assume it's something, right? Right. Let's go here. Coaches are there to guide, especially at this level in the NFL. Like, of course, teaching technique and teaching, the baseline of what you're supposed to do, it comes from the coach. But it's on the player to fine tune those things too. I think it's too soon or premature to blame it on the coach at this point, simply because as a group, it seemed like the assignment is there. I know we had the issues with James Daniels where it's like, well, where is he at on certain plays? It was fixed and corrected. When it comes down to, a player having his deficiencies, when it's physical, that kind of falls on the player a little bit, Mm-hmm. You can, and that's where practice comes into play. Do we know if OL coaches is at a point to where he's forcing this in drills or challenging, Dan Moore when it comes down to what he needs to be correcting? I don't know that we don't see that in practice. I assume that it's being addressed on the big board when it comes down to, hey, we got to fix this, spend more time in drills doing this. That's one thing that I will say my O-line coaches have done is, look, if there's an issue, okay, you're going to work on it, but so is everybody else, because we don't need this to be a deficiency on your end if it's not right now. Dan simply has to take that charge and find out why it looks the way it does right now. It can't be a season-long issue. I promise you that it can't be, because I'm not a fan of keeping tight ends in week after week to protect the quarterback. Right. Now, if this is a game time situation, we'll start off the game. Okay, keep the tight end in on the side of where Von Miller is, okay, where Myles Garrett is. Okay, we'll adjust the game plan according to those guys, and that does happen no matter how good or how young a guy is at those positions. It's self-study and awareness a little bit when it comes down to how I feel about Dan Moore at this point. If coach doesn't address it and this continues on after the season, is one or two things that can happen, Eddie. Either Dan loses his job or the offensive line coach is on the hot seat about his. Now, both need to have a meeting of the minds to discuss what's going to be the next approach to really minimize those type of plays happening.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that, they hired him in the offseason, Coach Pat Meyer, and I just think that you've got to give somebody a little bit of time to establish themselves.
Yeah.
The players need to learn him as a coach. That there's I think a dynamic there as well that they're learning him, he's learning them. There's strengths and weaknesses that they both have to understand. I'm with you. I think you need to give him more time, and I think that Dan Moore, again, we talked about it earlier this week, how hard of a worker he is.
Yes.
I just think this is something that Dan Moore, with his coaching staff, has to figure out on, and has to make right. I don't think that you put everything on Coach Pat Meyer yet. Like you said,
right.
If this season goes wrong, it's a different conversation. It's a different conversation. If week 7 or 8, Dan Moore still hasn't figured it out.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Yeah. But for now,
we'll definitely be having a different conversation if that's the case later on, man. Those things got to disappear. And the reason they do is because if it shows up against Cincinnati, it's going to show up against guys in week 2. Okay. Like your film travels. All right. It just does. And this is something that can't linger on for that long throughout the course of the season.
Is there some of that? You said your film travels. We see it all the time with quarterbacks. We talk about the sophomore slump. Do you think that there's some of that with Dan Moore this year to there's a whole season of tape on him now. There's a whole season of like tendencies and people figuring out kind of what Dan Moore is about, that maybe, he's got to make some adjustments on his side too.
Yeah. That could be the case, man, just simply because you get settled in, and in this league, you're forever changing from one year to the next. Your core stays the same as far as, what got you to that point, but you better fine tune and figure out, just in general, how do you stay elite? Like I said, I threw that challenge out there. I think this kid can be special. You don't play that early and win that position if you're not. And I know he was a 4th round draft pick when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
But you're given that opportunity. Like, you're supposed to gradually get better. Like, and the other portion of this too is with offensive linemen. It's about year 3 until you really start pushing that. Okay, I'm a true pro now. So I got a little bit of grace for Dan, but in that, I want to see him advance as a pro when it comes down to saying, all right, I'm taking this off the slate. You will not see me give this up at this consistency as he did in the preseason.
Yeah. That's one of the side stories of the season I'm really looking forward to is his Dan Moore Jr.'s development, because I'm with you. I think he could be special. I think he's shown some traits that you want in an offensive lineman, that aggressive, nasty streak. So I'm excited to see, I think he will bounce back, but I'm excited to see it happen in real time.
Me too.
It's been a fun show, Mon. Now I do think, now I can say with a little bit more certainty that DK will be back tomorrow for the Friday show. But it's been fun this week hanging out with you. For everybody listening and watching, we appreciate you guys as always, and we'll see you next time.
No doubt.